Hey guys, here to do my David Fincher collection. Now, David Fincher was one of those directors where I had seen a lot of his movies, but I didn't realize that they were all directed by the same person. It wasn't until I went on IMDb and I was looking at his profile that I realized I had already seen a lot of his movies and I didn't know. I have all of them except for one, I believe. I believe it's only one, and it's called The Game, and I haven't seen it yet. But I will go ahead and get started. The first one is Alien 3. Now, the first three Alien movies all had a really great director. The first one was Ridley Scott, the second one was James Cameron, and then the third one was David Fincher. David Fincher disowns Alien 3, and I think it was because of disputes over stuff that they did in the movie. There was stuff that he didn't agree on. And when the quadrilogy box set came out, he didn't want to have anything to do with Alien 3. But I loved Alien 3. The first three Alien movies are hands down the best. I mean, Resurrection was a totally different story. But I really, really enjoyed Alien 3. It had some very cool cinematography, like when you were looking at stuff through the point of view of the alien. I mean, that was really cool. But this was still a really good movie. I think it was David Fincher's first movie. And very good doubt movie, although it's not as remembered as some of the other Alien movies. The next one is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. This is the Criterion Collection disc. I am not a huge fan of Brad Pitt. You know, Brad Pitt is one of those actors where he acts like he's like the best actor ever when, yeah, he's happened to be in some really good movies, but he's not the best actor ever. But I have to admit, I enjoyed him in this movie. The movie was about how Benjamin Button was born. Apparently this is a real disease or something, where he was really old, and gradually as he gets older, his body gets younger. And it's like a love story, and it was a good movie. Really long though. I think this movie is 3 hours long. And but it was really enjoyable. I heavily enjoyed it a lot, and highly recommend this if you haven't seen it. The next one is The Social Network. This was the first David Fincher movie I ever saw, and I obviously only saw this movie because of Facebook. David Fincher is one of those movies that can direct a really simple movie and make it really good. You know, David Fincher doesn't have to direct multi-million-dollar special effects projects to make a good movie. He's a very good director. This movie is just, I don't know. I think out of all of them, this one probably has the least amount of style from David Fincher, I thought. I mean, it's a really good movie, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, it didn't, sometimes, like, I didn't know this was a David Fincher movie until I looked it up online. But this was still a really great movie, and highly recommend it. The next one is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I believe I had seen the Swedish version before I saw the American version. And I tried to read the book, but that was hopeless. Very good movie, very disturbing movie. Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara are in this film, and it was a really good movie. David Fincher's most recent film to date. This came out, I think, in 2011 or 2012. And I think there's rumors that he's going to direct The Girl Who Played with Fire, but I don't think that's for certain yet. But this was a really good movie. Highly recommend it. The next one is Panic Room. I think I did a review on this movie, and yeah, I take what I said about Social Network. This was the first David Fincher movie I ever saw. One day, like 4 years ago maybe, me, my mom, and dad wanted to watch a movie, and we saw this in the closet, and it looked really good, and we decided to watch it. Jodie Foster's in this, and a very young Kristen Stewart is in this movie. This movie came out in 2002, so she was like 12. Forrest Whitaker's in this movie, Dwight Yoakam, and Jared Leto. The movie is about how Jodie Foster and her daughter go into this, buy this apartment that has a panic room. And what happens is, the first night that they're staying in their apartment, burglars come into their panic room, and one of the burglars built the panic room that is in this apartment. And so, you know, Jodie Foster sees that the burglars are in the house, and she grabs Kristen Stewart, and they go in the panic room. The problem is, Jodie Foster did not set up the phone in the panic room, so she can't call for help, and the burglars are not going to leave until she gets out. And on top of that, Kristen Stewart has like I think it's like a low blood sugar problem, where if it gets below a certain number, she'll start going into a coma or something like that. Very suspenseful movie when I first saw it. Still highly enjoyable. This came out, like I said, in 2002, and it was written by David Fincher, and he wrote Jurassic Park and the new Indiana Jones movie, but I forgive him for that. But very good movie. Highly recommend it. Very good thriller. The next one is Fight Club. Now, Fight Club is like one of the most famous American movies ever. Yet, when I first saw Fight Club, I hated it. I thought it was boring. I thought it was dumb. I thought, shit, one of the discs fell out. But I was thinking, you know, why the fuck is this movie so popular? But just like Goodfellas or The Departed, once I watched it a few times, I really enjoyed it a lot more. This movie apparently was like A Clockwork Orange, when it first came out, fight clubs were appearing all over America, and they had to do something about that. When Clockwork Orange came out, there was a lot of Clockwork Orange gangs that were going around and beating and raping people, and Stanley Kubrick had to pull the film from cinemas. But this is a really good movie. Brad Pitt is in this as well, a very young Brad Pitt. Edward Norton's in this, and I love Edward Norton. Helena Bonham Carter's in this. Jared Leto, who was in Panic Room. Meatloaf is in this. And, yeah. Really good movie. Have not read the book, although I will read it sometime. But, yeah, really good movie. 7. Now, 7 was one of the movies that I would hunt down all the time and try to find it. And when I finally found it at my favorite used movie store, I was flipping out, because it was a 2-disc edition, and it was like $4. I took it home and I watched it. I have to be honest, I was a bit disappointed with it. And this isn't a Goodfellas situation again. It was definitely very disturbing, and being labeled as a serial killer movie, nobody actually has an on-screen death, except I think there's only one on-screen death. And it kind of reminded me of Saw. You know, the serial killer is killing people in the 7 Deadly Sins, and these 2 investigators, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, are trying to hunt down this killer. And and you don't find out who the killer's identity is until later in the movie. But I was kind of disappointed with it. Definitely, I think this is one of the few movies where I think it's overrated. And I've seen it twice now. And it was a bit overrated, I'm sorry. But I did enjoy it, but not as much as I thought I would. Now, the last one I own Zodiac, but I let a friend borrow it, and he hasn't given it back yet. Zodiac is based on the famous serial killer who started killing, I believe, in the late 60s and continued until the early 70s. Why I find Zodiac really scary is because they never caught the Zodiac, and most likely they have a suspect throughout the entire movie, who is Arthur Lee Allen. Most likely it was him, and he died in the 90s. But just the fact that they never caught one of the most brutal killers in American history is a very disturbing fact. But this movie is based on a book written by Robert Graysmith, who was a cartoonist for a newspaper at the time of the killings. And the Zodiac was like a huge obsession with him, and all the evidence pointed to Arthur Lee Allen, but the only reason why they couldn't convict him was because of handwriting samples. And he was like a totally fucked up character. I mean, he was scary, he looked weird, and there's like a behind the scenes documentary on the 2-disc special edition about Arthur Lee Allen, and he is a really creepy guy. I got creeped out watching a documentary about him. And they were going to charge him with the Zodiac murders. I believe they were going to charge him with one, because one of the victims who survived was able to identify him. But coincidentally, Arthur Lee Allen died of a heart attack in like 1993. So why they waited that long to do that, I'm not sure. But most likely it was Arthur Lee Allen. But really good movie by David Fincher. Very disturbing in some moments. I am not a huge fan of like real life killing stories. Like, there used to be a TV show called like Forensic Files or Cold Case Files. I don't like that stuff because it actually happened. And The Zodiac is definitely one of the most creepiest movies I've ever seen in my life. Very creepy movie if you've never seen it. But yeah, this is my David Fincher collection. Very good director. He's one of my favorites. And yeah, thanks for watching.